So we'll begin on page 1 of the Kurukulla Center prayer book with refuge and bodhicitta. In the Buddha's Dharma and Sangha, until enlightened I seek refuge, through merit from giving and the rest. To it all may I become Buddha. In the Buddha's Dharma and Sangha, until enlightened I seek refuge, through merit from giving and the rest. To it all may I become Buddha. In the Buddha's Dharma and Sangha, until enlightened I seek refuge, through merit from giving and the rest. To it all may I become Buddha. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be parted from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from bias, attachment, and hatred. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the flow destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O Supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you, who are wise, then I prostrate. With pure bodies, forms supremely pure, wisdom of ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha. To all 3 ever devout homage. To all worthy of respect, bound with bodies as many as all realms, atoms, in all aspects. With supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, the flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. From Tushita's hundreds of gods is fresh, pure white, tipped, curd like cloud. O Sandrakpa, Dharma's omniscient King, pray come to this place with your disciples. In space ahead, on lion throne, lotus and moon, venerable gurus smile brightly with delight. Pray stay hundreds of eons to spread doctrine as supreme merit, filled for my mind of faith. Your wisdom mind sees full range of knowables. Your eloquent speech adorns fortunate ears. Your beauteous body, fame, glory outstanding. Homage to you, worthwhile to think of, hear and see. Pleasant offerings of water, various flowers, fragrant incense, light perfume, and so on. Oceans of offerings set out and envisioned, offered up to you, supreme, filled of merit, non-virtue committed with body, speech, and mind, which I have heaped up since beginningless time, especially what has contradicted three vows. Each I confess from my heart with strong regret. In time of strife you strove to learn and practice. Shunned mundane concerns, made life essence-full. O protector from depths of our hearts, we rejoice in your powerful great deeds. Venerable gurus from love and wisdom, clouds densely massed in your Dharmakaya sky, pray loose a rain of vast, profound Dharma on fields of disciples just as needed. May whatever virtue that I've here gathered bring benefit to all beings and doctrine, and may it make venerable Sangha's essential teachings specially shine forever. May say where tesh and cherising, dreaming yempe wampo jampelyam, dupung malu dom te samwetak, dang chen ke pe tsuyet so hapa, lo sandrak pe shabla so watem. O glorious and precious root guru, pray take seat of lotus on my crown, caring for me with your grace. bestow attainments common and supreme. O glorious and precious fruit Guru, pray take seed of lotus at my heart, caring for me with your great kindness, until supreme awakening remains steadfast. Homage to the exalted Three Jewels. Thus as I heard at one time, the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajagriha, Bodhya mountain, together with a great assembly of monks and a great assembly of Bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of the countless aspects of phenomena called profound illumination. At that very time, the superior Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva, the great being, looking perfectly at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, perfectly looking at the emptiness of inherent existence of the five aggregates also. Then, through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said to the superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, how should a child of the lineage train who wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and the superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, replied to the Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of the lineage wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look perfectly like this, subsequently looking perfectly and correctly at the emptiness of inherent existence of the five aggregates also. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are empty without characteristics. That is, they are not produced and do not cease. They have no defilement and no separation from defilement. They have no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visible form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no object of touch, no mental phenomenon. There is no eye element, and so forth up to no mind element, up to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no cessation of ignorance, and so forth up to no aging and death, and no cessation of aging and death. Likewise, there is no suffering, no origin, no cessation, no path, no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, Bodhisattvas rely on and abide in the perfection of wisdom, and because their minds have no obstructions, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond error, they attain a final state beyond sorrow. Although the Buddhas who reside in 3 times by relying upon the perfection of wisdom, become manifestly complete Buddhas in the state of the unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the equal to the unequaled mantra, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, since it is not false, should be known as the truth. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Tayata gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhisoha. Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva, a great being, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and said to the superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, well said, O child of lineage, so it is. The profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced exactly as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, and the entire assembly, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, Gandharvas, and others, were filled with admiration and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed One. In the holy supreme abode of the Dakinis, possessed of clairvoyance and miraculous power, unwaveringly caring for practitioners as your children, homage to the host of the 3 places Dakinis, Akasamartatara Samarayape, Akasamartatara Samarayape. Samarayape, Taita Om, Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisoha. Through the power and the truth of the exalted 3 jewel speech, may all on the side of negativity such as the 4 Maras be stopped, may they become non-existent, may they be pacified. All enemies, obstructors, and hindrances, Shanti, Kurukulla, Soha. The 80,000 types of obstructors pacified, freed from adverse, harmful conditions. May all be conducive and perfect auspiciousness, bring happiness and well-being here, right now.
the first verse of the Mandala offering in English and the second in Tibetan. Round
Hello everybody.
Hello, Geshe.
How are you?
Good.
I think I heard my voice there. What do you call it?
Hoarse throat.
Sore throat?
Yes,
No,
hoarse.
not
Hoarse.
before we have the puja for Tibetans.
I see. So you're losing your voice.
Yeah, I listen my voice.
Hoarse throat.
My beautiful voice, I listen. For me. I'll be able to chanting. That's okay. Very loud, this one. Microphone. Yeah. That's the remark we are. And I just want to sort of an David Tony. I'm not in your lecture on college. She just went by this.
And so again, today we're going to have a discussion on how to practice Dharma in relation to teaching given in these 37 practices of Bodhisattva.
아니 나중에 대단 나도 지금 다 기호하고 다기로 그래서
So the Buddhism, our Buddha's teaching is like a method to bring happiness to your mind.
아니 나도 건강이나 또 미쳐서라야 리담나 가리바다 기호하고
So all of us, we want to be happy, whether it's our body or speech, right?
No one wants to be stressed. Right. 리바에서 다 나추고 나가야지. 다 semba 말래. 요아기 다 다히로 도세 다 생각다 라지적이 그래서.
And so in Buddhism, it gives us the method, how to be happy.
그러와. 근데지 소모야 소수 semba 기호 용하대요. 소수 썸마도 지원 맞아요. 다 무슨 맞을지. 다마도 소주게 하는 게 아니에요.
So making one's mind happy, is to be done by oneself. There is no way someone else from outside can fix it for us.
They give big job for us. Yeah, 근데 이 말자 지 다른 것도 지. 라나 소소지 문제가 강해 되지. 다 소소 가서 샘 만들어라 때리는 거예요.
And most of all our problems mainly comes from not subduing our own minds.
And
so therefore we have to subdue our minds.
And it will like much.
And to subdue your mind, well, in Buddhism it explains about the 10 non-virtuous actions.
And it so chillinga yosum tenju mekiwa chuo kanachi ke nam dread chembaina ta susora kamin tegre edro tenju baga ta sudo madeva chego edro ta tegro.
So if one's body, speech or mind is related or mingled with any of these 10 non-virtuous actions, then one will be unhappy. So one should control one's mind from mingling with these any of the 10 non-virtuous actions.
다 줘서 겸바서다 대치 담은 뭐 하고 살까 좀 싱그레스 나는 너 싸워드려요 이나야. 대단히 쉬워야 들어와. 그냥 막혀왔잖아 못한다. 그냥 담아가지고 속체 바세 쪽에서 속체는다. 38배 다 속체가 다 써봐라 그래서.
So those of you who are older students, senior students, you already know, but for those who are new, if I were to explain just for the sake of the new ones, there are 10 non-virtuous actions. The first one is killing. So killing is taking the life of other beings.
근데 이제 다 가서 갈라나 저랑기 직 요기 주섬기 다 참이 거니까 38배 속죄요 말이에요.
So you should not kill or take the life of other beings with all the beginning, the middle, the medium, and the conclusion, complete.
가르치는 좋은 데는 저랑기 속 매직 제와이나 다 저랑 넣으면 돼 왔대서 스치신이 조금 말이었어.
So why you should not kill is because if someone were to kill you, you would not like that, right? So just like that, nobody wants to die.
근데 다 대행선 다 몸으로나 다 되는 거 그래서. 근데 다 이바다라면서 꼬마가 와라 그래서. 꼬마서야 돼다뭐 바로 배겠지. 다 정리나도 다 꼬마가 해야 되더라고.
So that's about the killing, and then the second one is called stealing. Stealing is taking the possessions of others.
근데 다 나라 수치 조리스 뭐시 막마잖아 가서 수치 넣으면 더 같네. 다 그야 말라 그러죠.
So if someone were to steal your jewelry, you don't like that, right? So just like that, others will not like. So you should not steal from others.
아니 다 로임 사이즈에서 다 가지고 있는 지. 가지 소소소 지. 다 좋지면 여기 오라 다 미션은 들어가지거나 다 되게 노라만 보는 거예요. 다 되게 맞라고 그래서.
And then the third one is called adultery or sexual misconduct. So if you have a husband or wife, and while having that, if you keep a relationship with others, then that will cause problems. So therefore, you should not do that.
나 먼저 나라다 대숨 챙겨다 쓰지요 말서 나 먼저 해자 타고 제대로 해서
So among us here, there isn't anybody who create any of these three non-virtuous actions.
다 아는 난 소지. 아니 다 먼저 깨져야 할 거야. 다 말하고 시여 그래서 와. 좀 참아서 좀 내가 절세지. 다 도저 다 먼저 때때서 먼저 오늘 와.
So in terms of the things that we speak with our mouth, there are four things. So like lying, slandering, harsh speech, and idle gospel. So these, a little bit of all of these, comes. We engage in all of these in some ways.
와. 아니 맞아. 다 저도 전시에만 같이 다좀 참아. 다 참아서야 돼. 그러면 그렇지. 참으시 요한은 대파 다 제일 돌아가고 그래서 와.
So I don't know if you tell lie or not. Then the second one, is the slandering or divisive speech, so which kind of divides the two good friends.
그래서 딱 대지가는 남이나라 연거리, 조무 바라 연거리 딱 뭔고 연거리 가지 마지 딱타 여대 파리다. 리모트 파리를 당하려고 그래서 와.
So it happens among the Buddhists and among the boyfriends, girlfriends. And so anyway, it means you say something which causes others to separate, and makes them to become distant from each other. And those who are already more distant from each other, it makes them even more distant from each other.
아니 잠깐만 다 특별해. 다들 기자 두죠. 간다. 두죠 나대야 돼서 와.
And then the third one is the harsh speech. So the bad words that you use, to call others, which hurts their feelings.
When you angry. When we angry, we have to say very bad things. After we calm down, we say, "Oh, I feel very bad." I told them very bad things. They won't do anything bad. What is? And the time I just had it, I'm also pushing on that. The guy did not make a kitchen with the laboratory.
And then the other gossiping, is just talking senseless things. Those that have doesn't have much meaning.
어때는 다 되게 제와이나 가르나 다 파조를 내거려서 파조를 내와야 다 내야기 잘라도 제와 말을 납득을 해서 대체와는 뒤 내와라 소소는 양거를 해서
So if you do that, then that harms others. And so you should not do anything that cause harm to others. If you do that, then as a result, you will experience the suffering.
아니 다 도동아서 깨셔라고 그랬어. 다가서 깨자 마셔가지고 다 섬대야지 숨을 해서 와. 나샘나 숨 놓다세요 와.
So those are the things that we speak. We do when we speak, and there are other things that we think with our mind, and those are the envy or covetousness, and the ill will or harmful intention, and then wrong view.
다 나샘나 숨지 땅하더라. 다 망쳐 이거더라. 제대로 가지고 넣고 그랬어.
Covetousness, to covet for something, or to to have ill will, harmful thoughts towards others. So this is very easy to have, right? I'm sure most of you have also that.
와. 나샘 세대 다 주로 내차 찾다고 그랬어. 가지 이제 다 소소라 고군도 삼이지. 다이 가지든 첩아이만은 나라 고군도 서로 통독 삼아를 달랍다 그래서 와.
And so covetousness is to covet, so which means which is delusion, or attachment. So where you say, "Oh, I want to have that, I want to have that," and when you see something beautiful or something good with others, you say, "Oh, I want to have that too."
But we have first we can maybe buy a house. We need to buy one car. If we buy one car, we need another one. If we buy one house, we need to maybe better one. Maybe nice place, good views, Even I go to stores, I think. I love this one. I love this one. Anyway, the later that the new somebody not to do that much I heard it.
So that kind of thought, most of us have that.
Then somebody you are telling so come go at the Mandabaita, I don't do a coming mambo, you tell you.
And because we have that kind of thought, and because we're not able to achieve everything that we want to have, and because of that, then we experience many difficulties, many problems.
Just young that, so come the one that children do that.
So, are you able to achieve everything that you want?
I don't think so. Anybody has more. If you have maybe $10, we need $12. If you have 12, we have maybe 15. If someone pay maybe 1 hour $20, we have 12, maybe 25, maybe 30. But the other man, then somebody you are attending on to the time they coming mombo was attending somebody. Some matter my own
So because of that kind of thought, we go through many problems, sufferings, and difficulties, and so we should try to not have that kind of thought.
And that's but tell you that I'm not to I'm not to know which one that you can let you say, you are not to say. And it's dig a wash about the Joe Meba or the know something in Jelaya, Palo.
And the third one is the wrong view. So in this case, the wrong view is not believing that there is a past and future life, not believing that there are three jewels, not believing that if you create non-virtuous actions, you will experience suffering as a result, and so forth. So those are the wrong views. That's the wrong view in this context, according to Buddhism.
What did you buy that you? So, Makiwa, Chitty, one of the Chimbayana, that thing is also an issue, just some kind of coming takeaways. Today, about that to share what is left as well.
So, if you create any of these 10 non-virtuous actions, then you will experience suffering directly, indirectly, or so forth. And so, therefore, you should not engage in any of these 10 non-virtuous actions.
What that thing can be touching on the chief. That's 7 Javatana, and
so including that, there are so many other many advices or instructions that explains on how to subdue one's mind. So it's not easy, it's not possible to change one's mind easily or be able to achieve things easily. So just by studying today, transforming our mind tomorrow is not possible. So if it is that easy, then it will not be that significant. And especially in the teachings or in the Buddha's teachings, Buddhism, it explains how to achieve everlasting happiness. And so there are many like that, and in Buddhism there's these three things called the three scopes. So that there are these three scopes, three vehicles, and many other three things which are very similar. So those of you who are sinners should not be confused with that. So So 3 disciples, or 3 trainees, and 3 fundamentals of the path, and so forth.
What? Today, 다 좀, 야, 제가 충분히 충분히 가게 하고 있어요. 도개 봐서 가게 하고 그러고.
So all of you know what are the 3 scopes, right? The small, medium, and great scopes.
Even maybe cozy dog follow you. You don't forget, right? Dog mother, two about it, then we just. Right?
What's that?
two about there, then the genius that you go. Two about.
So you will not forget even if you are chased by a crazy dog.
Crazy.
Actually got that.
내가 나도 다 배게 배도 왔다. 소소 맞아가지고 다 된다. 가리 깨우 춘리 저도 저도 방 하고 그러고 왔어.
So you all know what are the 3 scopes, right?
네. What are they?
First one is the hearers, where you're just concerned with you're just concerned with this life, and then the middle one, the middle one is you're concerned about next lives, and then the great vehicle is to liberate everybody.
들어.
기부 총을 세리 선다들에서.
Oh, no good.
You fail.
You failed, then you failed.
내가 말했죠. 맨날 깨우 춘을 해야 돼. 제 심하는 게 송어를 맞게고 채듯이 다 개베샤고 신경 들어. 깨우 춘을
So the small scope is someone who is concerned about the future life, who don't want to fall into the Lordom in their next life, and so with that concern in their mind, then they engage in the practice to be free from the suffering of the lower realms. So that's called the small scope.
Whatever they do, activities for virtues. And 지금 됐어야 돼. 다또 고외 동아리 담도 길로 깨니 타고 있어. 다
And then the medium scope is not only the next life, but the entire cycle existence. Seeing the whole cycle as suffering, and and want to be free from that, and for that, then they engage in the practice. So that's called the medium scope.
아니 저 친구들 다 나라 지금 예술을 맞이와 배우면 돼. 다 나라 다와 통치 배우면 돼. 다 삼십 사지 고마 다 토고는데 이나 다 다른 거로 대체하게 바로면 돼. 또 쳐서 산지 고마 토야지 되다 나라 그래. 펜토 제약 최대한 나라 산지 고마 토가 쇼네 미치. 그럼 들지 캐니다 같이 와나. 제는 다 기호 첨보스.
The great scope, is someone who thinks that it is not good enough for myself alone to be free from the suffering of the lower realms. Not good enough for myself alone to be free from the entire cycle existence. I have to, just like myself, all other human beings are suffering and want to be free from all these sufferings. So I have to help to liberate all these sentient beings from cycle existence. For that, I have to achieve state of full enlightenment. And for that reason, I'm going to do this, that, and practice. This and that practice. So I think that becomes the great scope. So those are the 3 scopes. Don't mix up with others. Okay. So those are the 3 scopes. Now there are 3 vehicles. Do you know that, right? You all know that.
Can you say?
You're on the right track for these with your first answer. The closer the Shralava is,
I know the top is the.
Okay, maybe do it. Okay.
Put you on the spot.
Maybe 20. Okay. Okay, stop.
Here's vehicle?
Yeah, 3 vehicles.
Is the
3
here?
vehicles. Got it. That was better.
And then there is the
Come on.
what's this solitary realizers. And then the no more learning. Oh, that's a path. No, that's not the vehicle, it's a path.
Bodhisattva.
Is this Bodhisattva? No.
What? I don't know.
Are you just pretending you don't know?
I think maybe come from never. What do you think?
The hearer's vehicle, solitary realizer vehicle, and Bodhisattva did.
That sounds right to me.
Yeah, that's good. That's fair.
Yeah, it's good. I think it did come from there. They're not drawing much. Some not drawing to us. They're not drawing much.
So you should not mix up with that other three.
Would you talk more about the difference between the scopes and the vehicles? That's what the confusion is.
I agree.
Yeah, that's because I thought I knew that, and then you started saying it.
Yeah, the difference between scope and vehicle.
Vehicle, path, you know.
Why do we say scope anyway? It's not really scope, is it? The kibu is in scope. It's like religious person, basically. I mean,
That's the translation.
Yeah.
Or interpretation.
It gets translated that way.
Well, because that's the way they do, not from the person who does it, but the way they do it.
Yeah.
And from there it's called scope.
But all three of them are like on the path.
Yeah.
So they're all like religious people.
No. The small one is not on the path.
No, they are on the path.
The small scope?
Kebuchung isn't part of Lamrim.
No. Yeah, Lamrim, but what do you mean? When is it when the path?
Lamrim means like the rim of the lam.
It's a small scope, just where you don't.
기부총은 람렘이랬어.
Okay, I got
기부총은 람렘이랬어. 기부총은 람라 슈사랬어. 기부총은 람라 슈사래.
Yeah. 말해.
대화스 뭐 가가 있나다 바지 라면 슈마들라 쪽으로 들어와.
So if it is three vehicles, then you say it's in the path. But three scopes not necessarily on the path.
기부총 람마슈나 is not in the path.
Not in the path.
When do you enter the path? 잡죠.
내주 쓰면 희망하면 첨가되라 같지않나 지원했어.
When you have generated renunciation, then you have entered into the path. So being on the small scope has not entered into the path because it has not generated renunciation yet.
I haven't even seen the path yet then. Too far away.
근데 이봐도 대카이마다 같이 맞지. 제우 추리 추리는 바지 나는 쉬고 말다. 나도 나는 대카를 들어.
So for the small scope, you can be a small scope, but you are not on any of the vehicles. So many of us can be on a small scope. We do something to have a better life in the future. Then we're in the small scope's path, but not in the three vehicles, any of the three vehicles path.
What
What he just articulated, that's the three vehicles, not three paths.
Three scopes, not three scopes.
I know the scope side, but the pure solitary realizers and bodhisattvas are the three paths?
Three vehicles.
Three vehicles. 5 paths, right?
Oh yeah, 5 paths.
5 paths, okay.
Don't make it more confusing. We're just doing threes right now. No 5s, only 3s today.
What's the meaning of scope, the word scope?
Yes.
Because they say chung, the small, middle, and
in the Lamrim, the way they translate it in the Lamrim Chenmo translation, this is a person of low capacity, a person of middling capacity, and a person of great capacity. And so that's what's translated as
So
the small
scope
scope.
is capacity.
Or I think scope means like it's referring to the motivation they have. The smaller person has a very limited motivation, which only reaches to the next life, right? And then the middle one has a much more expansive. They are thinking like samsara in general is a problem and I need to get out. And then the bigger person has a huge motivation because they include everyone. They think not only me, but I need to rescue everybody else. So the scope is like the scope of the motivation, not the... Yeah. I think
The
it's
size of the motivation.
I think it's based on the motivation, but at least maybe that's why they translate
This
it.
mind is so small. It's really
근데 나라서 대화서 뭐 가르가 라나 쉬어라. 아니 야만은 내송도 야만은 고베도마. 근데 다른도 길로 찌만 많이 마시. 제가 그래서 가디나 깔지 않고 깨는 것이. 그럼 연주 사봐. 연주가 따다 탐들이 넣어봐. 연주 사봐. 찌만은 딱 깔지 않고 같이 것이. 아, 누가 삼삼지.
So you understand? You have Jomo Mindba?
Only a little.
Jomo Mindba. It's like without having to make any effort, spontaneously. So when you have that strong wish, wanting to be free from cycle existing all the time, without saying, oh, okay, I have to have that, or I have to have, not having to have that kind of thought, just comes up, spontaneously without, having to make any effort. So when you have that thought, then that time you have generated renunciation.
Then you
And
enter
then
the
that time, that's the time when you have entered the path. So that has to come, from seeing the suffering, the cycle existing. So of course, particularly the suffering of the lower realms, but in general, the whole suffering of the cycle existing. So by seeing that, then when you have that strong wish to be free from that, and that which comes spontaneously all the time, and then you have generated renunciation throughout day and night.
So the smaller scope, the beginner person who's thinking mainly like, I need to avoid non-virtue because I don't want to be miserable, and I need to do, accumulate merit because I would like to improve my situation. But also we think about impermanence and death and those types of things. But still we are just not quite on the path. We are looking at the door over there somewhere and thinking maybe I'll go over there.
We are not at the door. Maybe
Well, I shouldn't say we. I don't want to include the rest of you. But for me, I'm still
So
milling
we
around.
like you, those who are like you. So especially it has to be not wanting to fall into the lower realm, not just not wanting to experience any suffering, but not wanting to fall into the lower realm.
Or even the higher realms, right?
No, that's not small scope.
It's
Small scope
it would
thinks
be-
higher realm's good, and I want to be born in higher realm. I don't want to.
But no, I mean, in order to have the real renunciation, even the higher realm is.
See, that's why we are mixing it. So you should not mix. We're talking about scope now, right?
Yeah.
So scope, it's just a thought, wanting to be free from the suffering of the lower realm. Not thinking about just suffering in general, but especially the suffering of the lower realms.
Medium scope doesn't even want to deal with the higher realm, just wants to break free of cyclic existence entirely.
Yes.
So there could be no renunciation till you get to the second capacity, the second
That's right.
scope. Definitionally,
That
if
makes
you want a
sense.
higher
That makes sense.
existence,
Does make
you're sort of still locked
That's
into
good.
samsara,
That's good.
right?
Yeah, that's right.
no renunciation, no path, no scopes.
I'm glad I failed that
Scope,
question. That helped me. That's good.
기부 충분찮아.
근데 그래 대화 주는
No vehicle.
no vehicles, no
So if you
renunciation,
haven't-
no vehicles.
If you have not generated renunciation, then you have not entered into the path, and you have not entered into any of the vehicles.
Yeah.
Not even
The small vehicle.
not even here.
Not even here.
That makes sense. The vehicle takes you on the path. So.
예. 대가도 뭐야? 배나 다 떠나간다 배나.
So a hearer is not on the path.
No,
Oh,
they
yeah, of
are.
course, yeah.
They are. They're the middle scope.
예.
I thought it was hearer, solitary.
It is.
Those are
They
the
don't
three
line up.
vehicles,
Those
but
are vehicles,
this
they're
is
not
what he's
scopes.
saying is don't mix the
Oh, okay.
the scopes has to do with the motivation of your practice of religion. So the
Okay.
small scope, they are doing some religious practice, but they are not on the path yet because they haven't really developed renunciation. But the Shravakas, the hearers, they have renunciation for sure. They are like out in the woods meditating all day. They
The solitary realizers who are-
no, the
Meditating
Shravakas
all
too. I mean, these are the Theravada Buddhists who are in the forest, in Thailand. You can find them if you go out there and look. Anyway, but they have renunciation, right? So, but we me, I keep saying we, sorry. The rest of you, me, I'm still.
That's the vehicle, it's different than the scope.
Uh,
That's the vehicle you're talking about now, not the scope.
Yeah, not the scope.
You're talking about
but the middle scope is the beginning of the
beginning of the
vehicles.
vehicle. right.
So the two lower vehicles, the hearers and the solitary realizers, are both in the middle scope. Right? Yeah.
무슨 되니까 깨워래.
Because of
대남
renunciation.
주사라.
Yeah, because they have renunciation, but they don't have bodhicitta.
야,
So
되니까 되니까라. 가 깨우를 가져서 되니 코와 타야지 돼. 코와 타야지 돼. 딱 거기 나는 쉬고 돼. 지금 와 되는 거 깨우는 게 자서 그래.
So the medium scope, is the motivation which wants to be free from the entire cycle existence, not just from the lower realm, from the entire cycle existence. And so, because the hearers and soul realizers, or Saravakas and particular Buddhas, they have that thought wanting to be free from the entire cycle existence. Therefore, they both are in the medium scope.
다 하고서 다 깨워서도 대화성 하고서 됐어.
So now you understand the difference between the three scopes and three vehicles.
가제 지나서 깨워 단다 깨워 줄이 쳐서인데 와서 던지 가다 되는 애주고 삼바 그리잖아 대 나르시고 그러더라.
So, so this, when you talk about the three scopes, so the first, the small scope, we know now what it is, right? And then the medium scope. So during the time of the medium scope, or whichever scope you are, but as soon as you generate the renunciation and the thought wanting to be free from cycle existence throughout day and night, then that time you have entered into the path.
다 하고서 빼나 말아서 나오시다. 코알라 탄티질로 찜마마이 반인데 제중시와나 내가 라노시고 살았다.
So when you have that kind of thought wanting to be free from cycle existence, spontaneously throughout day and night, then you have entered into the path.
된지 람라시고한테 다 semje 탐쪽에도 사지 가래 난 코알라 탄티질로 나오고 제가 샤츠스스로 대나 다 대화침을 잘하고 그래서 샤츠스 마세레로.
So that kind of thought, if it is conjoined, with the thought wanting to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, then that becomes Bodhisattva, and so then you have entered the Bodhisattva vehicle. So and then again, in the Bodhisattva vehicle, like we mentioned about 5 paths, 3 vehicles and 5 paths, or 15 paths actually. So 3 vehicles, 15 paths. Each vehicle have 5 paths. So,
we need a diagram.
So 15 paths. So Bodhisattva path, Bodhisattva vehicle has also 5 paths. So the first one is called the path of accumulation. And so again, path of accumulation is also divided into small, medium, and great. And so the first one that you generate is called the small path of accumulation.
근데 인주고 삼바데 간지 상적이 생겼었나? 제가 침보 잡아. 상적 삼바인 거 자도 잘로 대화 침보래로.
So that kind of renunciation, if that is conjoined with the bodhicitta, then that becomes the first part of the bodhisattva vehicle, and then person becomes bodhisattva.
근데 대화 침보래로 그래서 근데가 인주도 상적이 생 마선바였나? 다 니들한테 지자로 그래서
So that kind of renunciation, if it is not conjoined with bodhicitta, then it becomes either of those 2 lower vehicles, so either Saravakas or Buddhas.
대화 침보대 대화 충이 이어대 또만이 또마다고 제가 자기 말했어. 다 비한적 셈을 말하는
So the difference of the small or lower and the higher vehicle is not whether it has not whether one has realized emptiness or not. It depends on whether it is conjoined with the bodhicitta or not.
미치게 대화 체중이 제가 가려서나 강가대자라 샤츠쌤 유명한 샤스를 하고 그래요.
So if someone were to ask you what is the difference between the lower vehicle and higher vehicle, and then you can say the difference is in having or not having bodhicitta. If you have bodhicitta, it's a higher vehicle. If you don't have bodhicitta, it's a lower vehicle.
그래서 다 다른 것도 깨우치는 거 봐나. 깨우치면서도 소소 생기 동화도 내성 동화때 다 때라 시에네 다 지겨워 접촉체다 깨우치면서 당하서 가운데 있어.
And so the small scope, is of being with a small capacity is someone, who is afraid of the suffering of the lower realms, especially, and want to be free from that, and therefore you engage in the practice to be free from that, and or to not to be born there.
We have action this one. Everybody gets get to this life suffering and lower realm suffering, then we to mantras, go study. Anybody do this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 나도 그냥 깨우 치고래서. Then we are small scope. But I don't think we are all big course. 깨우 치고도
Great scope.
great scope. We think about all sentient beings, such and then we have to do practice, right?
Yeah, even if you think of all sentient beings suffering, but you don't have ngejung,
Yeah.
you don't have renunciation, it doesn't matter, right? You are still small scope.
Is that right? If you don't have,
Correct.
what do you say?
If you don't have renunciation, even if you think of other beings suffering, it's not really like, it's not real bodhicitta. I mean, it's not without renunciation, right?
다 샤주 삼아도 말이야. 다 깨우 침보대로 자고 이러고.
You say in Tibetan.
You say it.
You say it.
가나 깨우 침보고 다 삼으라고 그러고. 깨우 침보라고 있는 다 그냥 해줘야 말해서 와. 옛날야 코삼아 다서도 깨우 침보고 삼 다서도 그 깨우 침보가 끝나고 그래서 와.
Functional rest.
깨우 침보를 했어. 샤주 삼잖아. 다 고태가 침보가 자고 그래서. 남주고 그래.
네 중면에 기부침으로 이어서.
대적이야.
네.
그냥 맞아요. 아니 나도 갈래. 샤제는 이제 끝내 하네 지 개와 제가 됐다 깨우 침보를 하고 그러고.
Okay. So now it has to be made more. Oh, you should translate. Sorry.
I'm listening. You can do.
It should be made more clear then, like, if you can be a being of the large scope, but without renunciation, are you on the path or not?
No bad.
Okay, so you can be a being of the large scope and not be on the path.
그래서
기부침보 있나? 아니 남로 쉬고 말했어.
no. 나도 출신을 나게 가디다 계속 나게 왔어. 아니 나도 가디다 출신을 다 샹제 생각 끝내라네. 다 저 친구 주제고 나도 나게 왔어. 나도 제대 가지고 샹제 생각 끊으라고 주니 다 지금 가르쳐야 된다. 저 친구 냠내서 나게 왔어. 제대 가르치는 책을 삼제 탐정 산제 공부 삼제 탐정이 치는 산제 공부 도약치는 것도 지체가 한다. 다 저 친구 냠내서. 다 나도 저 친구 이렇게 자리 나를 쉬어 말한다.
기부침보도 차결.
기부침은 나면서
기부침보도 차결. 기부침보 냠는 제대로.
냠내 나왔다.
냠는 진짜 좋아. 장주쌤 냠는 제초라. 내 장주쌤 말에 왜 차와요?
샤주 산다 말.
장주쌤 말에 나 장주쌤 냠는 제초라.
샤주는 냠내 인사 다대 기부침 냠내서.
내가 기부침보라고 말했어.
기부침.
그래서 내서 와라. 장주쌤 말이나 다 장주쌤 냠는 장주쌤 냠는 제야라. 장주쌤 먼저 냠는 제야. 대나시는 장주쌤 말이 뭐 말아. 장주쌤
소리가 말 대고 말.
대나시는 기부침보기 냠는 제야는 기부침보이 뭐 말았어.
대말 기부침은 냠내 지하서 다 대기부침보다 들리래. 기부침은 남나 쉬고 다시 저야 말. 배사 나서 오요 말 기부침은 죽어서.
So I understand the difference now.
But you should.
Yeah, can you share with the rest of us?
I thought you guys don't care whether you want to. Only you want to.
No, I want to hear the whole thing.
Just kidding. No. So Geshe was saying the difference in between the small scope, great scope, and medium scope. When we talk about the scope, and when we talk about the vehicles. So for you can be a great scope. You don't have to. When we're talking about the great scope, we were talking about having the thought, not only thinking about one's own suffering, but also thinking about others. So because you want to free others from the suffering, therefore you want to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So that's what we call this great scope, right? And this thought is that if you're a great scope, then because you have to have that thought, that means you have to have the renunciation, which means you have to have entered into the path already. But Geshe was saying that's not necessary. You can do the practice of the great scopes, and you can be called great scope. You can have that thought. You say, okay, I'm going to do this practice. I'm going to do prostration or make a waterfall offering in order to gain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. You can have that thought. So that's the great scope thought. And because of having that thought, you can be a great scope. You can be a person, a being of a great capacity like that. Whereas in bodhisattvas, the bodhisattva means the one who has a bodhicitta, and bodhicitta is a thought wanting to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, right? So when you have that bodhicitta, when you have that thought, you're not necessarily, you're practicing bodhicitta. You can say you're practicing bodhicitta, but you're not bodhisattva yet. Because if you are a bodhisattva, then you have to have that kind of thought. Not just only sometimes when you do the practice. Only when you're doing practice, you say, okay, I'm going to do this practice in order to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Not only at that time, but throughout the day and night, you have that thought all the time. Just like you have the renunciation throughout the day and night spontaneously. So just like that, when you have that kind of bodhicitta, and want to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings throughout day and night, spontaneous, then you become bodhisattva. So that's the difference.
So one can practice with the motivation of the person of the highest capacity.
Yes.
And at the same time, not have entered on any of the vehicles or any of the paths.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, a lot of time we aspire to be a person of high capacity, but our actions and our words don't actually live that out. We may say that, and I mean, I know for me, like that's everything I say is that, but I still have attachment. I still act for this life, you know. I still do actions for this life. Never mind. So I speak.
Like when you have this thought, like when you're doing practice, let's say you make prostration and you think, okay, I'm going to make prostration in order to gain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. What is that? Is that a bodhisattva path, a bodhisattva practice, or no?
Yeah.
Sounds like
But you're not bodhisattva, right? So you don't have to be
No,
bodhisattva.
I'm not disagreeing.
that's why it's
with
called
Geshe.
practice, right?
There you go.
There you go.
Thank you, thank you.
Can we go home?
Thank you, all right.
Is that not right? I mean, it's simple.
So you can't enter the path if you are a being of small scope. If you have a small scope motivation, you definitely can't enter the path. No, none of them can. But if you're middle or larger, you can enter the path, but you are not necessarily on the path just because you have a middle or large motivation. Right? Yeah. Okay. That's clear.
So if you find somewhere else, that if you are great scope, then you have to enter into the path. If you find somewhere, then you can break that up. We all learn. We all learn from that.
It's not that I found anywhere, but you hear.
No. I mean, if you find somewhere else, you should go back again, and check.
Yeah.
Go and search on Google.
Yeah. when we hear when at least for me, when I hear the small, middle, and great scope, I've always had the impression that, first of all of those scopes are some form of religious practice, because the people who are not one of those scopes, they have no religion at all. They don't think about even what's going to happen after they die. They don't care.
Yeah.
The moment that a person worries about what's going to happen to me when I die, they have become a small scope person. And then it's a matter of just expanding the concern to reach the larger scope. So for me, I was confused, thinking like when they call it the Lam Rim, and then they divide it into 3 scopes, like those 3 scopes must be the rims of the Lam, but actually, the stages of the path. But actually, the stages of the path don't really begin until the middle scope. So the stuff in the
rim.
Yeah, right.
Stages of the path.
The first scope is just the rim, right? Just the outside edge. You're not really inside. Yeah. Anyway.
지난게 돈받은 야보로 들어와. 당 간도 지난게 쭉 대화선 쭉 가르치는 것도 갈라왔어. 나도 그 태워춤 제라고 그래봤어. 관계라고 그래봤어. 저들 지금 저랑 쭉 가르치는 거 태워춤 제라고 그래봤어.
So when you are asked what kind of practice you do, then you always say, I do Mahayana practice, right?
관계라고 그래봤어. 전제에서 마야나 프라다 그래. semce tamchung itanda sanji toya chik chedra mahayana practice was.
So when you practice something to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, then that's called Mahayana practice, right? That's the great scope.
Therefore we are all great scope. Now we jump, we just jump.
So here's another point of confusion. So it's usually divided into lesser vehicle and greater vehicle. But we're talking about 3 vehicles. So then the lesser vehicle is grouping the 2 lower vehicles when we use those terms, Hinayana and Mahayana.
When we have...
Well, we use the term Hinayana and Mahayana, like lesser vehicle and greater vehicle. And so we're saying there's 3 vehicles. Solitary,
so then we say there are 2 yanas in Hinayana.
But doesn't yana mean vehicle?
Yeah. So again, in the yana means vehicle. So there's the Sarabhaka yana and then Pratyabhuta yana, and so you can call that also.
So they're grouped together in Hinayana.
Yeah.
There's a lot of yanas.
Yeah.
So those first 2 vehicles are included in the Hinayana.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the 3rd vehicle, obviously, the Bodhisattva is Mahayana.
Therefore, when you call what vehicles, yana means
so in order to enter into the vehicle, then you have to enter into the path.
If they don't have realization, they are not vehicles.
So when you have what vehicle you are in, so when you say what vehicle you are in, and to say that, you have to enter into the path. So if you have not entered into the path, then you can't be on the vehicle. So that's like if you have not generated renunciation, then you can't. You have not entered the path. And if you have not entered the path, then you can't be in any of the vehicles. Any of the 3 vehicles that we're talking about, not
So then we can't
not in your Mercedes car.
So then when we say we are Mahayanas, then we are actually not really telling the truth.
So now again, that's the difference. Practicing Mahayana and being Mahayanist is 2 different things.
Yeah. We are doing the practice. We are trying to. We're thinking about buying the Mahayana, but we're really just kicking the tires.
태보침보 church 열대나 태보침보 있는 거 잡아. 태보침보 봐 말아. So you can practice Mahayana Dharma, but
not
you don't. But you can't be. I mean, you can be, but you're not necessarily Mahayanist.
Yeah.
I was going to say that the Bodhisattva ideal is talked about in the Pali Canon. In the Theravadan Canon, they talk about bodhisattvas.
And they have bodhisattvas too.
And so I'm disagreeing with you that there is instances of practicing Mahayana ideals even by Theravada practitioners.
No, you are making a mistake. Just because the people are from it's in a Theravada sutra or they're Theravadins, if they practice the bodhisattva ideal, they are Mahayanists. It doesn't matter the vehicle that they are in. I mean, there is you're right. I mean, they say that there's also a Bodhisattva Pitaka, like a Bodhisattva canon. They mention it in Theravada, in Hinayana Sutras, but the people who practice it are Bodhisattvas.
What do you say?
When does one, you talk about the past, when does one actually enter the path of accumulation? With the realization of spontaneous renunciation? Is that the threshold to the path of accumulation? Once, a long time ago, you said that everybody thinks they're on the path of accumulation because it's the lowest one. And you said that was wrong, too, as an
Now we know why.
Yeah, so if you have not generated renunciation, then you have not entered the path. So in order to enter the path, you have to any path, whether it's a path of accumulation or the path of preparation or path of seeing, you have to have renunciation. So without that, you can't enter into any of the paths.
So what degree of renunciation are you talking about?
What?
Like, do you have to be a monk or a nun?
No.
So you have to be a monk. You have to be born as a monk.
Too late for this this way.
No, just joking. Not necessary to be monk or nun. Even if as a lay person, when you have that thought, like we talked about, wanting to be free from the suffering of the cycle existence, the entire cycle existence, when you have that thought, that kind of spontaneous thought throughout day and night, then you have renunciation.
But like Sultram said, we can have that thought, but then our actions could belie that thought. So how do we know if that thought is genuine?
If you don't have the thought, I think, if you have the thought, your actions wouldn't be that way. Yeah.
So while thinking that, I must be free, you can't be thinking about, I'm living, I have to have this, I have to have a car, I have to have a house. You can't be thinking like that.
Well, then how can we ever have renunciation in this?
Well, the Dalai Lama said that we try to be renounced, but the Dalai Lama actually spoke on this. I read it yesterday on Snow Lion, and you can actually read it too. He talks about this particular issue about renunciation. He said monks and nuns, most people think that they're 100% renounced. They try to be renounced. You act as if you're renounced, and that's all we do. It's the same thing as the purpose of this class that I read online, which is refuge. We're taking refuge in our future enlightenment, or we're taking refuge in an aspect of ourselves that we're trying to realize. So it's sort of similar in this, in that we act as if, and we create our path, in front of us. We create our path every single day, every time we have this enlightened thought or have these moments of realization and win these different wars against different aspects of ourselves. We create our path moment by moment, and it's a dynamic process, and we're constantly creating it every moment we breathe, and every time we have elevated thought. So it's not a static thing. And even with renunciation, it's like being saved in Christ. You die to Christ every single day. It's the same thing as being on the path. You die to aspects of yourself, and you build this vehicle of your future self in the sky. The golden body, the diamond body, whatever. But it's a constant process. It's not static. And so to think about it in sort of non-abstract terms, you kind of miss the truth. You're going to keep sort of. It's sort of beyond.
Yes and no. There are non-abstract ways to understand renunciation and your engagement with it in this life. The way you relate to the things you own is not abstract. The way you relate to your attachments to this life is not abstract.
But I'm wondering too, because Damsho, the way you explain it is that you're thinking about it all the time, Maybe so can anybody in this life ever think about it all the time?
Maybe he can explain how to identify renunciation.
I don't have that.
No, but just explain how we can tell it.
Lama Yeshe's book on the introduction
That's what I
to
trust.
Buddhism has a
It's
very
not
good chapter on it.
my explanation.
And it's right out there. Lama Yeshe's book on introduction to Buddhism.
But chance if you have baby, everybody has baby home. Chance book young jiwana. So book la pisha chance kare jege do was. But book la kangi book yapon chudi kade na book jene lo job je marba chudi do was.
So if you have a child, you have a concern or love or affection towards the child. Is there any time you don't have affection towards your child?
Yeah, sometimes.
You have sometimes? Is there all the time?
Yeah,
even when you're going to sleep, you think about your child. I wonder if he's sleeping okay, like that. You have always this kind of affection, So it's similar to that. That doesn't mean you won't be eating enough, you won't be sleeping at all. It doesn't mean that. You have that thought all the time. That's what it means.
Under the 18, not above 18. Yeah. 드링어도 용도 왔어. 고소. 근데 소소 가온이라 답해. 소소 가온이라 해나. 가디나 대체도 와서. 인제 가가 담보치 틈 갖다 좀 저기도 가디나 대체도 와서.
So you have that thought, right, of concern or affection towards your loved ones all the time, right?
But you're not saying all the time, I love you.
Yeah.
대체도 가서 깔리지 않고 되는 거. 고마워시 이래도 왔어. 깔리지 않고 왔어. 드리려 요 거스. 저 대체로 제마치 소주가 말라고 말죠. 그 드리려 오셔나 다시 되겠어.
So to have that kind of attachment, affection, you don't have to make any effort, right? It comes by itself, naturally. Right? So that's what it means, like spontaneous. When you have that, doesn't mean that you can't have other feelings. Of course, you can have those things also.
같이 깔린 거 깔리지 않아도 저도 변다 소소 가사 야사다 소소 뿌글라 직대 세워라 대체되는 거 깔리지 뭐 그랬는데 대대가 되는 거 같아. 대대로 코아등에서 동아라 타들로 되는다 하잖아. We almost there.
Just like that, if you have renunciation, wanting to be free from cycles all the time like that, spontaneously like that, then you're close, to having entered the path.
But what you're announcing, I might probably wrong view. What you're announcing though is samsara, and what binds you is samsara, the three poisons and karma. You're not necessarily renouncing cars.
Mm-hmm.
You're renouncing samsara, what binds you, because when I left Gillette Stadium, the Dalai Lama passed me. He was in a very big car.
You're renouncing your relationship to the car, though. You're renouncing how you relate to the car. You're renouncing how the car affects your mind.
Yeah. But I'm sure he was in the car because of security. I mean, because he travels as a head of state of the United States.
Renouncing how the car affects your mind.
코아라 탄지로.
It's good.
코아라 야봉데 탄지로 소상다. 탄지로. 동아라 탄지로.
That's some samsaric pleasure.
Yeah.
Samsaric pleasure. So you're renouncing the samsaric pleasure. So if you have a car, you think, oh, it's very good, it will bring me a lot of happiness, and I'll be so happy and so forth. But it's not really true. Right? So when you realize that, it's, oh, okay, none of the good things in samsara really brings me happiness. So then you renounce that. That's the samsaric pleasure. Samsaric perfections.
나도 삼성 예주 때도 제가 삼성 가서 지금 고아동에서 운동하는 게 시에네 따지. 다른 근데 다 대퇴하면서 처음 되는 삼성이 오더.
So sometimes we have that kind of renunciations, even if we don't have that spontaneously all the time, but sometimes say, oh, it's no use, I had all these things, but none of these things make me really happy. But we have that kind of thought sometimes for a short duration of time.
But they come back.
After sometimes you forget, how it's not really happiness. Then later when you see different ones, oh, maybe this will bring happiness. So your attachment comes right back.
대학가서 강의를 쳐봐야 대가마치 주제해야 되나 생각했지. 또 강의에서 전 대가마도 같이 제대로 남주지 따다로 하는 것도 싫어. 땅에 유제도 말도.
And so sometimes when we are facing some suffering, some problems, some difficulties, those times we have more or stronger renunciations. Other time when we are all very happy and everything's working out very well, and it's hard to have renunciation at those times.
Dangerous.
Just forget that.
It's a fair weather Dharma practice.
So that's artificial renunciation. It's not a genuine renunciation.
If you are a baby, the mom says express. The baby is, I don't know, maybe after born, after 18 years, you have always think about your kids. How can you grow up, how you education, how get, future life, always thinking that, but you do everything other things right. You can cook, talk, But this motivation, you don't need to do hard work, just they automatically come here. You have that kind motivation or thought for samsara or suffering, free from them, then we cross. Then we say, oh, I'm very bad. Oh, you guys very low. 다 건축 세우러 줘도 같이 깨웠으면 해야 태웠는데 쭉 하고 좀 왔어.
So you understood the difference between the three scopes and three vehicles?
태웠으면 가사이나 남라 슈퍼 잡세고 가리나 가지고.
So if you are a person on any of the three vehicles, then you have entered into the path.
가리나 썸니다 남주고 태웠으면 가사이나 남주고 잡세.
So if you are a person any of the three vehicles, then you necessarily have entered into the path. So you can say that, with your eyes closed.
Then you
very sure.
Very sharp, what's that? But
if someone, very, if you're intelligent, very smart debater, or to debate with you, then maybe you might lose that. You might lose that certainty. First you said yes, definitely. And you are very certain that if you have entered into the vehicle, then you have entered into the path. You're very certain. But sometimes, from the way they debate, where they ask you question, they might make you feel that maybe not. So you lose your certainty.
If that person doesn't say, what's that? Directly, indirectly, come from this, then you push. But the name is 제가 주로 거래나 남주 공사님이 예면 맞춰서면 많이 찾아서 봐. 이거 말해서 대화서 뭐 가면 남주 공사님이 잡세 되는 거 없다. 쌍고 그래서.
So if you are, a practitioner of any of the three scopes, then it's not necessary that you have entered into the path. But also it's not necessary that you have not entered into the path. You could have entered the path, you could not have entered into the path. But if you are a person in any of the three vehicles, then you have necessarily entered into the path.
되게 제일 줄을 쳐서 공부를 하려면 민족 선바 쓰나? 되는데 장습 생각 쓰나? 대화 좀 보세요. 대 많이 주나? 다 대원 준. 그래 됩니다. 저도 민족.
So when you have generated that renunciation, then you have entered the path. And then when you have that renunciation conjoined with the bodhicitta, then you have entered into the Mahayana path. If it is not conjoined with bodhicitta, then you have entered into the Hinayana path.
Anybody got it?
The other three.
Wait, I would.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. What is the difference between the hearer and solitary realizers?
다 되냐? 자원을 다 되게 되었으나. 네, 그냥 고 그래 니도 어디 적어서.
너도 셔야돼요.
다 니도 해야 돼. 간지 맞지. 라자 세대 코나 주보라 되는 코나 주보 냠내치는 뭐 스치면다 코나 나와서 다 되게 그래서. 니도 해야 돼 말이야. 미 여사도 지 강가에서 지 코나 냠내치는 강아지 되는 거다. 사람을 그렇게 되더라고 그래서.
남기찬을 가르쳐봐요.
남기찬이 다 시단 얘기.
그러면 중기 삼바드는 전주섬이나 되는 거 전주섬을 찾더라.
됐죠. 다 되면 다 저거는 권익이 따위고 저거서. 이게 강사 앞에나 다 남의 또 받지 말아. 남의 검지 쪼시 그래서. 근데 라자스야 되게 다 디카라 이동 검지 쪼시 그래서. 다 거기 검지 쪼는 가 줘서. 검이야. 니도 사대기 이동 검지 쪼시 그 말했어. 라자스야 되게
예전도 인다.
니도 있지.
라니지고 타거든요. 너 이거 집어.
되니까 집어 맞지. 다 니도 사야 돼. 라니도 다 되겠지도 또다 남의 검지 쪼시 하지. 라자스야 라니도 다 되겠지도 다 남의 검지 맛에 디디데 이동한 검지 쪼시 받더라. 다 검지만 집어줘.
지금까지 다리로 그래.
다니면 뭐라고 하나.
다니면서 숨도 좀 더.
돈이 또 했다 검지 쪼시. 또 하지 말지. 나다 검지 쪼시 되지. 공부해야지.
So hearers and solitary realizers, they have, they're both same in having, the thought wanting for themselves alone, to achieve liberation. They both have that. So they both are same in having that. So the difference is in terms of the practice that they do, and the manner of the practice that they do. So hearers, they, it's called because hearers is they hear. They're listening all the time, hear, listening a lot and all these things. So solitary is like alone, right? Mm-hmm. So they don't rely on many other people. They just do all this practice by themselves. That's the term, solitary, by themselves. And then there's a big difference in the term of the practice that they do. The meditation, the object of meditation, the main object of meditation. What they mainly meditate on, the hearers mainly meditate on the selflessness of a person. And then the hearers, the solitary realizers, they mainly meditate on the emptiness of duality. So So their object of meditation, there's a difference, so in what they mainly practice because of that. And then of course there's a difference in the result also. And then the difference in the duration, the time, the amount of time it takes to achieve their results. So that's the difference in these two different vehicles. Otherwise, they both are same, being the inner vehicle.
Middle scope.
Yeah, the
middle scope. So you understand the difference now? The 3 scopes and 3 vehicles?
Even what's the crazy dog?
Crazy dog, yeah.
Following you, don't forget.
I know that, so Pabonka Rinpoche talks about how when we're practicing Lamrim, when we're doing our meditations on the lower scope or the middle scope, we still do it with bodhicitta because we still, ourselves, are practicing the great scope. We're just doing meditations on the lower scopes, and they all build. They build on each other, right? It's a progress. That's how the Lamrim works. With the vehicles, these 3 vehicles, are they progressions? Can you understand them as progressions? Or no? You don't move from one vehicle to the other.
기부 숨라다 기부 섬담 기부 충분 염려치도 그나 기부 충분 염려체여라서 기부 충분이 염려체 아니 삼바데 기부 충분 삼바가는 기부 충분 염려체나 되라 근데 요라 디제 디나시 되네다 다 기부 충분 염려체고 기부 딩이 염려 뭐 제법도 도고라 기부 염려체 되는 때마다 도고라 아무데나 기부 충분 줄라 기부 충분 람줄라키 되는 기부 충분 되는 거라서 디나시 되는 뭐 여기 다 대보스가 되는 당보를 안 되는 난 연도 대보라 쇼 되는 라디오 대보 되는 다 전선 대보 되는 거라서
not necessary 중요해다 not necessary 당보인의 대체를 가서 지었어
so yeah, it's not necessary.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can there's a hero's path. I mean the hero's vehicle sorted as the Mahana vehicle. So you can go through the through this. First you enter into the hero's vehicle, achieve the hero's the goal, and then come back and then enter into the Mahana path. You can do like that, but then you don't have to go through that. You can go straight into the Mahana vehicle also.
I mentioned when we got another session. They shall some senane, Kotajum Chasmos. Injured. Tabo, Ninju Tomati. The Shash Samson, no Kotajum Chasmos, give him Chasmos. Ninju, the leather telling Ninju Tomati, Kotawan, Jimani shooter, and Ninju Tomati, Matiara. That Ninju Tomati, maybe the chance of Sensen, call Lana Thomas. That Kotajum Chasmos, many Jimani show. 어머니 로마오지. 아, 담보니 되는 거 같아요.
네. 맞아. 되는 티발라.
근데 다 슈마고 빼는 거.
아, 네.
슈마고.
So, so like I said earlier, that when you have generated renunciation, and if that renunciation is conjoined with bodhicitta, then then it becomes Mahana path. So, before entering into the other paths, if you already have conjoined that renunciation with bodhicitta, then you have already entered the Mahana path.
Okay.
Is there any difference in the liberation that a solitary realizer and hearer has? Are they the same? I mean, just samsara, they be the same liberation, or are they different?
수놈 자자체를 사고 나는 더 이거를 키워요라. 제모도 키우면은 가겠어.
레벨이 집어넣는 거다. 왜 가지 개고만이라. 하고.
그거 근데 여기.
지금 다니는 당연히서 하고 돼. 그래서 이게 토야들다 좀 레벨했어.
I don't know, but I'm sure there is a difference because the practice they do is different, and the amount of time they take to accumulate merit. One accumulates for maybe 3 lifetimes, one accumulates for 100 eons. So there's a big difference, right? And so I'm sure there is a difference, but I don't know what's the difference.
I don't know. Sorry.
Okay. It's how could you be out of samsara partly or out of samsara totally, but you'd have to either be out.
No, they're both same in terms of being totally out of samsara. Yeah. In terms of knowledge, maybe there's difference. in terms of doing things, but in terms of the power, there's a difference.
Like
and the healers can do certain amount of things. They both are same in being, free from psycho-resistant. Healers can do some amount of thing, but the soldier guys can do more, things. Like if they benefit sentient beings, they can benefit more sentient beings like that.
다 이놈아 다 줘도 돼 놀면서 깨버선도 대화 좀 가서 놀면서 그때 놀면 되었을 때.
Still after the 3 scopes and 3.
Just say the 3 vehicles one more time. Say the 3 vehicles one more time.
무슨 데 알려주나?
Just say, I want to hear. I want you to
얘들이
summarize.
대화 맞아야 대화 다 샤조선 대화서 나만 대신 대화 지금 그거.
So healer's vehicle,
Yeah.
solitude realizer's vehicle, and then the Bodhisattva vehicle.
그랬더니
And then in
대화
Sanskrit,
중에 기본적인 예를 대화 중에 기본적인.
And then where does the Vajrayana come into that?
와, forget that.
The Vajrayana comes into the Mahayana, the great vehicle. Bodhisattva, the great vehicle, yeah.
There's another 3 though, aren't there? Renunciation, bodhicitta, and...
but those aren't vehicles.
Those are the 3 what?
3 principles. 3 principles aspects.
So many numbers.
Yeah, those are the 3 principal aspects.
So those just the 3 vehicles too, since we're combining sometimes Sanskrit and English. The hearer's vehicle and the Shravaka are the same thing. Just different words. And Pratyeka Buddha and a solitary realizer are the same thing.
So it's not something different.
Yeah, just Sanskrit or English.
Okay. Next time if you ask her, don't listen, okay? I will give you a little quickie question. But they talk about, what's that? Shimbakaro. Shimbala.
Generosity.
They talk about traditional actions, generosity. Also generosity, many things. If just generosity, nothing makes sense. Maybe I can do a little bit next. Details. We go to questions, okay?
Next time we're going to practice generosity, so bring a lot of dollars.
Juries, okay? Okay.
I'm eating a couple that might be sick.
나는 labda 저도 망한테 그때는 고비도 다 되게 지금 고모배 지금 labda 그때 계속야 해서.
So yeah, you seem to be confused about these 3, the 3 vehicles and 3 scopes and so forth. So that's why I had to spend a lot of time explaining about that. I hope it's beneficial.
It's good.
다 산에 네 슈가를 가서 가려야. 다양 시험들이 다 그때는 직시와도 저도 그때는 대로 선택하는 거고 그래서.
So whatever you're studying, or you're learning, you should have it in your mind all the time.
If you write down that, then you forget. One Tibetan one story. The one monk, he doesn't speak Hindi. He wants to go someplace. Then the police caught him. Then he put right down where he can go. He put his bag. He forgot his bag. Then police caught him. Then he said, okay, my directions and my bag.
My speech?
Yeah, my speech is my back, but he forgets the speech. He doesn't have. He go right down, but he forget just like that.
You understand?
그거서 다 가지마지. 나도 뒤셔 주고 배운 말 들어. 아니 제어대 양이 아주 싸워 들어.
So it's not useful just to write it down, on the notebooks.
Memorize it.
So you have to look at it again and again to familiarize yourself with that.
Yeah, everybody write down very easily, but doesn't check forget.
Geshe, we're leaky vessels. We are.
Leaky, yeah. It's okay.
Cracked vessels. Cracked pot.
Just you guys. Not only you guys, everybody. Also, you guys have a lot of job, a lot of activities to do. Of course, forget. Try to guess.
Wait, what was that, Geshe? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay. Of course, not just you guys. Everybody has this problem. They forget. I'm the boss to forgetting guy. You guys have a lot of balls, activities to do, not just only this. Of course, forget that. Try to best.
That's the problem.
Okay?
Can't do anything else.
What are the three jewels of refuge? Remember, what are the three jewels of refuge? This is easy.
And it's an easy one.
Okay.
Good start, yeah, that's good.
Okay. Who's giving?
Let me guess, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha?
There we go.
What?
3 jewels of refuge?
Yeah, you got that.
Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Oh, that's what I have.
You read that?
Yeah, Buddha,
Yeah,
Dharma,
we-
and Sangha.
That's what I put.
Okay.
Trick question.
Yeah, this is good to everybody. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. If we make it more comfortable, there are a lot of things to do, but stop there, okay? Everybody identified. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Okay? Now second one a little bit tricky, okay? Be careful. Be patient. What is the
Border.
border of having achieved any of the three jewels of first ten?
For the first time.
For the first ten.
Just don't mind my notes. What is the border of
What
having
does
achieved
border
any
mean
of
in
the
that
3
context?
jewels?
Yeah, what does border mean in that context?
First.
Border like the Takarina.
Andy can explain.
I have no idea. It's a strange question.
Here, just give this,
When you
give this
say
to
border,
Andy.
do you mean threshold? When does it start?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can say.
Yeah, when start.
You can say that, yeah.
When start.
Threshold, yeah.
Okay? Who's voluntary?
Tell us what border means, and maybe we can answer the question.
다 토마토.
Okay, I'll jump in.
토마토.
산삼스는 가서 걸었어. 산삼스.
They're based on a verse in
So border is like, the border, the border, right? I mean, the border of Canada and United States, right? When you have reached there, then you have reached Canada. Before that, you are in the United States. When you have reached there, and then you pass that, then you have reached there. So when do you have, when do you first reach Canada? When you reach the border,
The threshold.
right?
the beginning.
When you reach the border of Canada and United States, that's when you reach Canada first. So before that, so that's this like it's just a term, but it can mean like threshold. It can mean like a measure.
Yeah.
When do you first achieve?
The first step.
When do you first achieve any of the 3 jewels?
I think
This is what it's saying.
maybe-
The question can be to simplify it is when do you first achieve any of the 3 jewels?
Yeah.
I think we will say, when do you cross the line? We say, like if you imagine it as a line, when do you cross the line?
That means again can also mean
Yeah, it's the same
going
as
too
border.
much.
But in English, we
You're
say,
crossing the line.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So you understand Dolores now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, I mean to simplify that
Is it
question
what
is
we were talking
when do
about
you
before?
when do you first achieve any of the 3 jewels?
Is it what we were talking about before when we developed spontaneous renunciation?
Is that when you
I would say that's
okay? You have different?
Maybe-
몰아서는 게 요즘 거 듣게는 듣네.
The 3 jewels are better than that.
Yeah, 내 말이.
What's yours?
My answer was when you generate heartfelt faith and positive motivation, and note, not blind faith,
No.
as in a dogma, but faith arising through confidence and understanding.
I think this is maybe
No good?
No,
Okay.
I think there is some misunderstanding of whether they are talking about refuge or actually achieving, like attaining the state of being one of the 3 jewels, right?
That's pretty far along.
Yeah, so I think he's actually talking about attaining the state of being a jewel yourself.
Oh, I
Achieve.
thought-
Is it the word achieve?
Achieve, yeah, achieve.
Oh, I took it as the beginning, the first step. Okay.
Is it
Okay, you fell. Sorry. It's joking, I'm joking.
No,
Okay.
no problem.
Okay.
When you don't have other refuge,
No.
you don't have
It's like my
refuge in other
answer.
things.
It's like my answer.
Okay, Nordstrom. And who? Maybe Wendy. You want to try?
Can you reach Buddha first? Don't you have to be enlightened?
that's for the Buddha jewel. But there are other two jewels, Dharma and Sangha jewel.
We don't need to achieve enlightenment.
To be Sangha, you don't have to be Buddha, right? When do you become Sangha?
Arya being. So when you see emptiness.
Directly.
Good.
That was the thing, yeah. That's the thing.
Can you become Dharma? Can you achieve the Dharma jewel?
Well, you have the wisdom realizing.
When you have realizing emptiness.
Yeah, you have that time already. When you achieve the Arya, when you become Arya being.
You become Sangha and Dharma jewel.
You have Dharma jewel also, yeah.
Okay.
You have achieved Dharma jewel.
You have achieved Dharma jewel.
Yeah.
Okay.
바람 가리 토바이나 다 가리.
So when you have entered, the Arya path, when you first enter the Arya path, that's when you first achieve any of the three jewels. So you become Sangha, right? And you have achieved, you have the realization of the emptiness directly, and that's the Dharma jewel. So you have the Dharma jewel and you have a Sangha jewel at that time.
And
when
the
you
Buddha,
first...
Buddha jewel too?
No, Buddha jewel only when you achieve Buddhahood.
So that would also be the first blooming one achieves
Any of the three.
Dharma,
and the Sangha.
And Sangha when one achieves the first.
Arya path, the superior path.
First blooming Bodhisattva, yeah.
That's right, first blooming Bodhisattva. Not necessarily Bodhisattva.
Yeah, you're right.
Healers and soldiers.
Yeah, all of that. When you understand emptiness directly, you become Sangha jewel, you chip, if you have inside you, in your mind, the Dharma jewel. Not all the minds, the virtuous minds. Okay.
Is that a bhumi? Is that a particular bhumi that you become Arya?
Six.
What?
Is it when you become Arya? Is it a particular bhumi?
I fully answered the same question. No.
No. You don't have to be in the bhumi. You can be also on the healer's path.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's
superior, healer, superior path.
So just for my benefit, could you repeat the answer to question 2?
When you first achieve the Arya path, Arya, the Arya superior path.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when you realize emptiness.
When you realize emptiness directly.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
It covers this. Okay, then third question, okay? If you listen? Okay. If that is the case, how is it that we are protected by the three jewels? How? You didn't got it?
Because we took refuge.
Huh?
Because we took refuge in the three jewels. We don't become the three jewels.
당연히 쫓아다 가렸어. 워낙 깨주더니 나도 쫓아다 가리나. If that is the case, how is it that we are protected by the three jewels?
We take refuge.
How do they protect us? In other words, how do they protect us?
How do they protect us?
Why does it have to do with question 2 also? I don't understand.
Because it's when you first attain the three jewels. Any of the three jewels isn't until you see emptiness, so...
No, when you take refuge in the three jewels, you will be protected by the three jewels, right? So how do they protect you?
No, but she's asking why it says if that is the case. So it's referring to the previous question. So...
근데 이나세 가진
if you
데는
don't actually...
다 꼼줘서 드리 바이너스 꼼줘서 드리 사서 꼼줘서 드리 토게나.
Right. The question is basically, since you don't achieve any of the three jewels until you're an Arya, how is it that you can be protected by the three jewels before you're an Arya, right? It's like this kind of question, is that the idea?
Yes, you can make it that way.
I remember when you were.
I think this question is everybody identifying.
내일은 아니야, 저는.
네.
내일은 아니야, 맞아. 대원님한테 그런 여기 요거 차려보라.
아, 네. 다 간지마지.
뭐 거라도 거라 좀 살아. 근데 다 가서 하나도 못 하면 강사들도
대도 좀 살아.
거라 좀 살아.
난 알아서. 다 꼴주도 나눠서 가르쳐 버렸어요.
대대나서 그때 한거 얘기 좀 드셔도 됩니다.
아. 당일 아이들도 다 나서 꼼쳐서 못이 다 같이 가요하고 다 들려나오다 돼서 가르쳐 버렸어요.
In that case, Geshe was referring to like now you have understood what are the three jewels, right? So if there are the three jewels, who protect us, then how do they protect?
Yeah, how do they protect us?
How do they protect us?
Through their power.
Like that.
Well, they have achieved a certain level of power and majesty.
Yeah.
So that's why we have.
So how do they help us?
How the actual mechanism of how they help us?
Yes.
By us asking for their help, by having faith in them.
Okay, and then what?
And then.
But that's us. We're asking. But how do they do it? What do they do to us?
Buddha taught the Dharma. That's how.
Yeah.
He gave us the Dharma.
So Buddha help us by how? How does Buddha help us? Can he give us a realization?
No.
Can he wash our sin away?
No.
Can he? Huh?
Can I ask?
Can he remove our sufferings?
Right, no.
So how does he help us?
Revealing
By
the
teaching. Yeah, that's. Okay.
Just my question is, I'm curious about this because I remember when we studied the Gyulama, one section of the Gyulama is about the Sangyeki Tenley, right? So the activity of the Buddha, which penetrates everywhere all the time. He's always doing things to bring people to the Dharma. So
to help them, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I wonder, like we often hear, like Buddhists don't do anything and you have to do everything, but they do something. I mean,
well, they're there to show you the path.
But besides that, the Gyulama says that it's always, all the time. Like everything is pervaded by the Buddha's activity. So even like the wind blows and you feel cool for a second, and you have.
What is the example that you gave there, right?
Yeah.
What's the example? The sunshine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the sun doesn't shine everywhere.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So why is it not shining there? It's covered, right? Something is covering that, right? So just like that, we are not taking refuge, so it's just like covering up.
Yeah.
If we don't do from our side anything,
you have to be receptive at least.
That's
reception,
right.
right? We do have to.
Yeah, receptive.
But then but still, I'm confused because in order to be receptive, they say in the Gyulama, like I don't remember how do you say in English the
you don't know how to say in English.
I don't remember how to Jik Seva. So the lineage is awakened or something like
Mature,
that. Yeah, by coming into contact with the Dharma or teachers or whatever, something in you is awakened to the Dharma, which makes you.
Well, you said it means like your karma has to be matured. Your karma.
In order to realize that they're there all the time.
This dependent origination is too confusing.
I'm not sure.
릭사 같은 거 갔어요. 난 고란테는. 다 릭사도 릭사도 내려 거서 다 디셔 저런 시바라. 저런 시야에 된다. 릭사도 내려서야 돼. 내려 차기 됐어. 이제 진짜 릭사를 안 가려고.
다 릭사는 저 같이. 다 가서 가래. 다 우리에 대해서 다 내서 하고 하는 거죠. 다 나가서 지 개배 되고 뭐 저는 저런 좋아 놓는다. 당연히 되지 않다. 당연히 돼서 하고. 다 가서 이해 세워서 놓으시.
맞아. 태바천복 릭사에서 태바천복 있다. 가서 태바천복이 남라 쉬어다. 태바천복을 냠는지 알아. 근데 가서 단 녀불려 봐 놓으시라.
단 녀불려 봐 그래. 녀불려 봐 놓으시. 이제 대치 좋아하시는 이런 걸로 하면 이제 좋아하시는 거지.
So I mean, in order to so the direct translation would be the rik, is like the caste, right, or the family. That's what I would say. So you fit into the family, of the Bodhisattva. but you're not Bodhisattva yet, so like that. That's it's saying like that. So that we can say, usually, normally, it's in the literally, not literally, but in the meaning, it means your karma, of course, you created the karma, right? So you created the karma, and then now your karma is ripened, to do that. You're ready to, you're very close to be able to do that. So that's what it means.
So that's why otherwise, if you didn't have the karma, even if you met a teacher and from their side the cause was there.
The karmic connection, if you don't have that,
nothing will happen for
exactly.
you. Yeah, okay. It's confusing. It makes me think of the Heart Sutra. There's nobody doing anything because you keep chasing, like, who does what, Because the karma that you do too is influenced by being around other virtuous or non-virtuous people.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's the cause and condition. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You have a cause, but you need a condition for the cause to ripen into a result.
Yeah. Okay, simple. Caution is his answer is correct. Buddha came to teaching us, right?
How they benefit, how they protect us, or how they help us.
Buddha came teaching us.
Yes.
Sangha to what's that?
How does Sangha
like a nurse, support. Like a nurse.
Dharma came to cheap Dharma for us, right? Okay, don't forget, okay? Okay. This is very tricky, huh? 4 was more tricky. Okay, if it is a Buddha jewel, is it necessary for it to be not Dharma jewel?
Understand?
Yeah.
Everyone understand?
If it's a Buddha jewel,
it is not necessary for to be not Dharma jewel.
You have the question in front of you or no?
No, I think I'll try an answer. I think earlier we said that when one reaches arhatship, one becomes Dharma jewel, and
one becomes Sangha jewel.
Sangha jewel.
And one achieves the Dharma jewel.
And achieves the Dharma jewel.
Yeah.
So if that is before Buddhahood, where one achieves the Buddha jewel, then the answer, I think, is no.
Good.
Right? Because
anybody said no?
Yes. Yes, I said no.
Okay, if we said no, give me an example.
Why is it not? Why is it?
I don't know whether it's yes or no, but the Buddha jewel is achieved after the Dharma jewel.
An easier way to ask the question is: can one thing simultaneously be the Buddha jewel and the Dharma jewel? That's right. That's another way to ask the question. Yeah. If it's the Buddha jewel, is it necessary for it not to be Dharma jewel? So the question is, can it be Buddha jewel and Dharma jewel at the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the question.
I think his logic is sound.
I'm not arguing his logic. I'm saying a clearer way to ask the question.
But the Buddha jewel is achieved after the Dharma jewel and the Sangha jewel.
Yes.
Right? After.
Yeah.
So therefore.
So you're already the Dharma jewel when you become the Buddha jewel, so you should be both. You should be both the Dharma jewel and the Buddha jewel. I think that's what you're saying, right? That's what it sounds right to me.
The question I heard over here was different. You need to really rephrase it.
No, that's similar also. Can you be Buddha jewel as well as the Dharma Sangha jewel?
Yes.
If it's Buddha jewel, it has to be Dharma jewel. If it's Buddha jewel, it has to be Dharma jewel because Dharma jewel is achieved before Buddha jewel. Therefore, Dharma jewel is achieved.
So Buddha jewel again. Now the Buddha jewel is person, right?
Buddha is all three.
Buddha is person, no?
Yeah, you have to talk to Nagarjuna about that.
The Sangha is person, right? Sangha is person.
The Sangha is the Arya, yeah.
Sangha is person, right?
Yeah.
Dharma is not person.
The Dharma is within a person. If
it's a knowledge, it's a realization.
Can there be a realization or knowledge without a person who realizes or knows?
So realization is not a person. Your mind is not you, right? Mind is different from the person.
Well, in that case, then you can say that the
So that's the question, Because Buddha is a person. Dharma is not a person. So how can Buddha be a person Dharma,
There is no Dharma without somebody who knows it. You can't have the realization or those things without a realizer.
You don't know it. You don't know it.
I think they're tricky.
It doesn't make sense though.
No. Your knowledge, right? The mind, which knows ABC, like I said just knows, the Heart Sutra, is not Andy, right? Andy is a person. Can Andy be? Can Andy be a mind?
If we are taking it to that level of analysis.
No, that's the level. That's the thing we're talking about.
If we are at that level of analysis, then we can't say Buddha is a person either.
Buddha is not a person?
He's not a person.
Buddha Shakyamuni is not a person?
No.
No?
Because
Buddha Shakyamuni is not a human being?
Where is the Buddha there?
Buddha Shakyamuni is not a human being?
Is he the hair?
No. But Buddha, Andy is person or not? Andy is human being?
If I don't ask any further questions,
Andy talks or not? Andy talks or not? Andy eats or not?
Yeah.
Eats, right?
Too much.
So who's the person who is eating? It's Andy, right?
If I ask those questions, then
there's Andy. So you're not saying there's no Andy. There is Andy, right? Of course, there's no Andy existing from his own side, but there's Andy.
Yeah.
Right. So that Andy who exists is a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
but I can also say that the knowledge that Andy has.
In the same way, Buddha Shakyamuni is a person also, right?
Yes. Okay.
So Buddha Shakyamuni is a person.
Okay. I agree.
So Buddha is a person.
Yes.
So Buddha is a person, right?
Yes.
How can person be a Dharma?
How can there be a Dharma without?
No. I cannot. I'm not saying that can be Dharma. I'm saying how can person, Buddha Shakyamuni, be a Dharma? Dharma is knowledge, right?
Yes.
Dharma is knowledge, right? So therefore, how can Buddha be a Dharma?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tricky.
You said in the answer you said.
Yeah.
It's not necessary.
The point is, I think if you talk about knowledge, it doesn't make sense that there's knowledge without a knower of it.
No. The answer is in the Buddha. There are four, right? There are four kayas, four bodies of the Buddha, right?
Yeah.
Rupa kaya, all these things, So all these four bodies of the Buddha is a Buddha.
Okay.
Right. So Buddha's compassion is a Buddha. Buddha's body is a Buddha.
Okay.
In the case of the Buddha, not as a human being.
Right.
Your mind is not you. Your body is not you. You are just a level given to your body, right? So that's different. But in the case of the Buddha, Buddha's mind is Buddha, Buddha's body is Buddha, Buddha's knowledge is Buddha. See? So therefore, the Buddha's knowledge is a Buddha, Buddha's knowledge is also Dharma. So therefore, it's not necessary in that case. That's because of that.
We need to study more because then it seems like there are four Buddhas.
Yes.
So one Buddha is actually four.
The attributes of.
No. Each Buddha have four bodies.
So there are four
So
Buddhas.
the nature body, the
You're
wisdom.
saying each body is a Buddha. That
Each body is
counts
Buddha.
four Buddhas.
Yes.
So there's four Buddhas. Each Buddha is four Buddhas.
Countless Buddhas. Buddhas can be countless.
Okay, then just quit.
The bodies don't exist conventionally, they're formless, correct?
No, but we were just saying, like, if
It's an
we...
emanation body, right?
We are not talking about conventional or ultimate, though. We are just talking, if you talk about things, like this is a book and that's a table, we're not...
The thing is, in the Buddha's case, that's why I said earlier, Buddha's case is different. Because Buddha's eye can speak, Buddha's nose can see, Buddha's mouth can hear. So that's a different thing,
Yeah,
so every part of the Buddha is omniscient.
Yeah.
Right? So he knows everything. So it's different. That's why I'm saying in the case of Buddha it's different. And so every part of the Buddha is a Buddha, But in our case it's not like that. Because every part of the Buddha can see, can understand, can know, So that's why that's the difference.
So Buddhas are a special case.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Buddha's hand, will be able to see.
Yeah.
If you put a blindfold in his eye, and his hand will be able to see.
Is it confused?
Yes.
It's confused. You need to learn confused, okay? You learn more. They're good to
So anyway, the Geshe-la's answer, the example he gave is like Buddha's compassion. A compassion within the continuum of Buddha is a Buddha, and it's also a Dharma. Therefore, it is not necessary.
It's not what?
Not necessary.
Therefore,
it is not necessary to, be not a Dharma. If it is Buddha, it is not necessary to be not Dharma. Because Buddha's compassion is Buddha and also is a Dharma. So, what Sulim asked earlier, like, is that can there be something both Buddha and the Dharma? So we say yes, Buddha's compassion is Buddha and it's also Dharma. So therefore, it's both Buddha and Dharma.
The only of the four bodies, the only one that's a conventional body is the emanation body.
Well, the physical one, the form body. Yeah. Nimanakaya and what was that? The Sambhogakaya. There are two. The form body, and then there's the enjoyment body. So those two can be touched and can be seen.
What's the other one that can be touched?
Enjoyment body. Well, it's more like a heavenly body.
Yeah. Okay.
It's only in the heavenly realms.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, everybody makes very confused.
That was a very good class, Geshe.
I said, sorry. Make more confused.
You're very good questions.
But think about it. Some to be very easy questions, but then very easy. Okay, now we can start.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll please turn to page 8 of the Kurukulla Center prayer book. We'll do verses 1 and 4 in Tibetan. Oh, wait. Sashi Tegi Dukshin Metosha Rira Blinkshin Nide Gampani Sangi Shindu Mite Uwangi Kokunanda Shinla Chuparsho Sham Uptetun Lame Kutse Raptenshin Namkar Twin Le Chokyo Kepatan Losan Tempe Jome Sasungi Gyowe Munsa Tatune Gyurshigi Guru Ratna Mandala come near Tayami. My two collections vast as space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds, wisdom, eyes blinded by ignorance. Even if I cannot reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of complete greater paths to the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practicing. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I hold Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time by even this great course to enlightenment completed due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their children. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes an effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Maya and virtuous practices, may they always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. Long life prayers, beginning with third verse on page 10 for His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and then jumping to page 17 for Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Ngangri rawe kowe shinkam dipendam dewa madu jumwe ne shenre zigwang tenzin jamsoyi shape site baru tenyo chi tuktu changshin jamgun gyowe tenzin kyo pewe kunzu dukpoze shosum kowe legmun chudro padakso duje gundu shaten sho. Please turn to prayer for peace and freedom, which you'll find either not today. Okay, so then we'll just do the remaining verses on page 10, 1, 2, and 4. In English. Through this virtue may I swiftly, having gained Guru Buddha's state, place each Wangpo Champelyang Kanchen Kepe Suyen Song Kapa Losan Drake Shabla Soan.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.